So you referenced Japan. Talk a little bit about how you ended up there and what you did there. And
Hmm.
I mean, for me, knowing you and as like an outside person, it seems that looking at your life, that would be an iconic time. That would be a career defining time. So whether you knew it in the moment or not, but looking back.
100% was. Went there in '84 for the first time as a student at UCLA in the summer, and then something triggered in me. I went back again the next year in summer, and it just something triggered for me, and I became kind of singularly obsessed with it. And I was more interested in the contemporary culture, although I studied deeply, ended up at UCLA, even studied the history. Uh, Also the political history. I was a political philosophy and film major, in fact, at UCLA, and I ended up through that ended up studying Japanese cinema, which you could do, and also uh, philosophy. Um, just became singularly obsessed, and was ended up thereafter trying to figure out how I could get back. So it was just luck of the draw. We moved to California when I was 8 or 9 years old. I knew that that was already a good thing because we were coming from Ohio, Pennsylvania, not to disparage there, but I just knew that that was for me. And being on the West Coast, right? You're a door to the Pacific Rim. I mean, and as opposed to the normal arc
Mm-hmm.
of East Coast, say if you grow up in the Midwest and you end up on one of the coasts, normally, if you end up on the East Coast, you're unlikely going to end up, if you have a international ambition, to Europe.
Yep.
So it totally changed my life because I started looking at the world through a totally different lens, which back then wasn't, the world wasn't what it is now by any stretch. The flatness of the earth wasn't what it is. The information wasn't as it was, so on and so forth. So totally changed. Anyway, so ultimately I did figure out how to get back there and live and work, and ended up doing that for almost 4.5, 5 years in the '90s. Um, you know, again, I couldn't have scripted. It just was my life, right? Um, but it was difficult work, but it was like obviously karmic. Um, I think I feel like I must have been a Japanese in a former lifetime in a way, because even more now than even then, I feel so comfortable
Mm-hmm.
there. Always, like
Mm-hmm.
immediately, I just feel comfortable. Um, so that's the quick
Mm-hmm.
version
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it totally upend. I mean, it didn't upend my view of the world because I didn't really have a view of the world, right? It
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
that became my view of the world, was looking at the world through that lens, and that meant aesthetics, that meant politics, that meant everything, really, frankly. And it was at a particular moment, and so understanding the history of it, of course, with anything is vital. Yeah, wild time though, really wild time. I mean, it was wild days.